Welcome to the Smart Factory.
Welcome to Learn with us, Kaylene.
Thank you so much. Good to be here.
You are based in South Africa, and when we spoke last week, you were in Johannesburg. Where are you now?
I'm in Cape Town at the moment, but heading back to Johannesburg at the end of the month.
Okay, and how is everything in Johannesburg these days? I mean, we just have a few moments before we're going to talk about our session, so we can chit chat in the meanwhile.
It's been interesting. I think it tends to be a word I'm using a lot lately. Johannesburg was always quite manic, fast-paced, lots of activity, traffic all the time, and I think due to COVID-19, things have rapidly changed. A lot of the big businesses are still operating remotely, so it almost feels like a ghost town in a way. But yet things are still happening. People are digitizing a lot more. They have to. So automation and integration is essential. So it's been an interesting experience.
That's great to know. I mean, it's not great to know that things are like in this kind of despair situation, right? Because I think a lot of people, I don't know about you, but I think the worst thing about the COVID-19 is maybe not the COVID-19 itself, but maybe because you can't see an end of it, right? Because sometimes when you can see that if you have a problem, you can see a solution in the end. Most of the time, it's way easier to cope with, right?
Exactly. And I think the other concern is that because every day is different, you don't know what to expect. Solutions that are applicable today are not applicable tomorrow. So it means you have to operate a lot quicker and have more foresight than the hindsight. So it has its challenges.
Well, it's about time. So now I can see we have a small but extremely dedicated audience, I promise you.
Perfect.
And as I said before, I think that one of the challenges with all these webinars is essentially that there's too much information. There's kind of information overflow in the world right now.
Yeah.
So when we decided to do this, we were fully aware of this, and we believe that the value of this is, of course, talking to a lot of different people in a dense time, and then basically use that as an opportunity for replaying content that people can go to when they need to, right?
Okay.
So Kaylene Lloyd, thank you very much for attending once more. Because this will not be like a presentation style. This will be you and I talking about some of the challenges that you have firsthand knowledge about, and I promise that we will also let you be allowed not to talk too much in details because you have secrets, right?
Yeah, kept secrets. I'd like to keep them that way.
Yeah. At some point, you will have to deliver some information about them, and maybe not now, but at some point you have some really, So I would like you just very briefly to maybe give a little bit details about who you are and your background and what you're working with. So at least we get that established. Is that okay with you? Or is that a secret too?
No, that's available information. So basically, I come from a marketing and visual merchandising background. I was very interested in the franchisee business model because there were so many variables to take into account, where one specific strategy was not applicable to the next store. When the printing industry in South Africa brought in new technology which allowed for variable, I became excited because from a marketeer's standpoint, I could identify certain things that were not being capitalized in the industry. inkjet technology, cross-media marketing solutions. So I jumped on board with the objective to integrate data with print. I definitely saw that there was a gap, a loophole that needed to be filled. So I currently develop variable data and web-to-print solutions, all cross-media marketing. My main objective is to integrate and automate as much as possible by using print with variables to drive consumers online. Once we drive them online, we can then obviously identify who the person is so that we can then target and develop solutions which are more personalized and engage with the audience on a more one-on-one level.
So just to put it in, I was just about to say layman's words, at least the words that I understand. Okay, so you come from a marketing background, and
Yes.
you have an interest in both omnichannel and personalized data and all these kind of things, and then you have decided to work in a printing company where you basically enable that printing company to offer these services. Is that understood correctly?
That's correct. We also develop solutions for brands and businesses. So it always depends if it's a B2B or a B2C model, where we can then develop web-to-print solutions that are applicable based on personalization.
The personalization point of it, because I know that you will not reveal too much about what you're doing, but because one thing you actually did publish already, you published, I think it's about a month times ago, you published a link where people could enter a lot of details about themselves. And of course, I wrote wine, and I wrote books, and these some of the things that I really like. And then you basically sent me a PDF with some personalized information. And I asked you if you were using, for example, X and Pi for these kind of products. And I'm not so interested in the technical side right now, but why this approach? Why did you start this way?
I think from my side, it becomes extremely challenging to educate the consumer, because we work with so many different variables, and from a strategy perspective, there are so many things that can be developed which aren't being utilized. So we were forced to, work remotely. And in order to engage with brands and business owners, it became extremely challenging to try and explain to people what could be done with personalization, starting with data. We then decided to create a campaign which revealed and got creative juices flowing so that people could actually see the power of personalization. It was a very challenging project because we had to retrieve all the data ourselves, but a lot of businesses and brands already have data which they don't know what to do with. That becomes a lot easier when you have access to data and understanding the business's objective. The link that we published was more the show and tell, so that people could receive their personalized PDF on the spot, so that they could actually see how quick results are received based on completing a simple questionnaire or survey to receive their personalized PDF on the spot.
And how was as you mentioned, it's a campaign. I think it was as you said, a campaign to showcase the value of using data in your communication marketing. But I was just wondering, so you sent out the link. I think you did that on LinkedIn, didn't you, or also as mails?
Yes, we used email marketing. It was also published on a marketing platform, and then as well as LinkedIn.
Yeah. And how was the reception of the campaign?
So it was interesting. I think a lot of people are quite scared to fill out a lot of information about themselves. So you definitely have to execute it on a more personal relationship base. People will generally not fill out lots of information about themselves because of security. Privacy is also an issue, but it definitely gave us an amazing starting point where we could actually take the insights that we had received and then target those people specifically based on their needs and their likes. We then had a better understanding. We had more insights. We could see trends and we could communicate with them with those results. It was also a great way to develop a kind of lead generation database where we could look at demographics, geographics, and understand, awesome, this is what this person likes. There's a kindredness here. Now we can approach them and actually communicate to them based on their needs. And instead of arranging a meeting and having coffee, we can now meet on a Friday at 4 o'clock and maybe, speak over a glass of wine. And it definitely gave a more emotional connection. And I think that's where a lot of the lack is with digital solutions. It can be quite cold, and that human element is definitely lost. So it was warm and light-hearted, and I would definitely say it was a success.
So one thing is that you wanted to teach your audience about the values of using data and communication, and the end result was that you also learned a lot about how people receive these kind of information. So it educated you as well, right?
Definitely. I think that's the beauty with omnichannel. It's all about learning. So you're there to educate, but you're learning at the same time. There's loads of challenges and things that you generally don't take into account until you actually execute and launch these kinds of solutions.
So let's move a little bit ahead, because the next thing I would like to talk to you about is that when you got engaged with the printing company that you work for, was this already an established part of a business plan, or was that something that you got involved with too?
They had access to software and a well-established team. I think the issue was being able to approach the market more from a marketing standpoint instead of just a printing standpoint. A lot of the time, printers sell ink on paper without understanding why you're putting ink on paper. What is the actual purpose? And I think you need to become a solutions-driven consultant almost, where your client will send you through something, but you also need to be able to have a look at what it is, what application they're trying to drive, and what are their needs as a business, so that you can make suggestions. And I have noticed that a lot of the time there is that gap where instead of just being a standard printer, you're not communicating, you're not really understanding what it is that you're trying to drive. And I have placed myself in a position to try and be able to make sure that ourselves as printers and as well as the client, both of the objectives are met, and value-added services are generally left out.
The reason I'm asking is because I think that I don't know if you heard the session before where Eve and Jacques were talking a little bit about what the smart factory is and how Industry 4.0 will change everything. But I think, when you listen to consultants and to media and to vendors, I think that everything sounds so easy, right? But it is not as easy as they say, is it?
No, it can be quite challenging. There's definitely, I think, after sales support is needed. You can purchase a solution, a third-party application, a web-to-print, off-the-shelf business model, and everybody needs to jump on board into the digitized space. I've noticed the problem comes in when there is no business plan or marketing strategy. You need to be able to identify what is it that you're actually trying to drive, and how are people going to know that your business actually has digital solutions. And that becomes very difficult, because a lot of the time everyone's jumping on board. We need to digitize, we have to digitize, but now what?
and that is of course something that you experience because without going again into details about what you're doing in your company, I think that you have, from what we have been talking about in prior sessions, just between you and I, it seems that you are a very ambitious company. You really want to take it to the next step. And I think that one of the things I have experienced also during those conversations is also the fact that you cannot go to one supplier that can give you an end-to-end solution, right? You need to get a lot of different vendors to work together, right?
Absolutely. I think there's so many solutions available that collaboration and partnerships are essential now. There's so many things that can be done. And if there's collective energy and synergy, the entire solution from start to end can be completely streamlined instead of just thinking of, right, we need a web to print solution or we need an omni-channel solution. You need to develop a strong established team where everyone is focused and has their part to play so that you can almost weave the missing pieces to create a 360 experience.
And that is of course a challenge, and I can't help think about, because the company that you work for, how big a company is that? Is it like a medium size or small or large, or how do you put that position then?
I would definitely say medium.
Mm-hmm. So that means that the company have allocated some kind of resources for this project. I mean, one thing is that you allocate the human resources, but it also costs some money to do this, and there's an intent of making money with this, of course, and also have a unique market position. But it sounds to me like this is not something for the very small printing companies. Do you think that eventually this will open up opportunities for smaller companies as well, or does it require too much?
I think if you find key players of the right skills and expertise, and you have an understanding of where it is that you're going, any size business needs to obviously jump on board. I don't necessarily think it's the size of the business. I think it's more about innovation and dedication and the ability to take things hand on and understand that one person cannot create everything. Everyone has their own skills and expertise, and everyone needs to develop a team and play together. Otherwise, there are too many variables, there are too many moving parts that to create as one person. So team skills, expertise, and a vision, and lots of research.
Yeah, I can imagine that. So when you look at the journey that you have been with, I think you have not been with the company for so long time, right?
No, I've been working here since January.
So what kind of I mean, because I was just a little curious, because if you look at what you just spoke about, and that the team and as we have also a session on Thursday called about the digital mindset, I think that what you're talking about is the ability just to work as teams, as well as being able to convert the opportunities of business into the technologies available today, right? But if you look at your company and the way that you have approached it, obviously you have a sales and marketing approach, and maybe a customer approach to how you see the advantage of this. In your company, have you also in the same time also been looking at all the back-end functionality when it comes to workflow, when it comes to how to utilize the equipment in the best possible way? Because I mean, I think that is sometimes some printing companies, they say, okay, we go to do one-on-one books, and then they find out, okay, that means that we have 700 people employed just to do the repro of it. I mean, how did your company approach that part?
Well, you definitely need to understand internal processes. You need to understand objective. When it comes to digitizing a business, things like CRM systems, integrating with couriers, automated marketing strategies, personalization, you have to have such a broad understanding of everything internally, as well as identifying who your target market is. These projects take time. There's lots of delegation, lots of technical parts, APIs that need to be considered, different kinds of integration with software that might not be easy to just integrate. So technical strings might need to be developed. Considering an online business versus a typical brick and mortar business, delivery cannot be the same. If you're developing something for the new world, in the new normal, you definitely need to be using new tools. And if your internal processes and methods of communication are not streamlined, it becomes even more challenging to execute a project, because you're dealing with people in different time zones, possibly, or in different departments, in different areas. And I think it always starts internally. Definitely understanding internal processes before you can even drive anything digitally externally.
But being an employee only from January till now, have you? I mean, because the teamwork of your company must really have been strong, because to achieve what it seems that you are achieving right now is something that requires a lot of work to get that done. And we have a COVID-19 situation that probably didn't make anything easier for you. And at the same time, as you say, working with vendors in different time zones also requires a little planning, at least. And then anyway, because you have not launched yet, but you are close to getting to launch, right?
Yeah, so basically we're working on various projects. Our team is very strong. I think that's one of the reasons I jumped on board, is because I understand the power of teams. So dedication, again, as long as everyone is on the same page with the same vision, communication is great, 100% commitment, then I think anything is possible.
That's cool. When I wrote and asked you to join me for this session, I had this kind of working title, and not as easy as it looks, or as many people say. Do you think that some of the challenges that you have experienced during these past 9 months, is that something that you can plan, or is that something that you just have to expect?
I think number one, have a plan.
That's a good one.
Yeah. A lot of people jump on board without a plan because they know that they have to, but there will definitely be things that you cannot plan for. I think being realistic about expectations, identifying that when there are multiple vendors or suppliers involved, different teams working on different projects, there will be delays in communication, infrastructure, internet problems, standard demands that we have in life, technical issues that need to be tested, signing off. There are so many parts to a project. I think understanding where you're going and making sure you have a solid plan, but being realistic at the same time, because nothing is picture perfect. And you can have timelines, but still realize that, yes, once everything is developed and everything is perfect and functional, you still need to test. You still need to identify who your target market is. You're practically starting from scratch. So lots of trial and error.
One of the things I can't help think about also is, I think that also maybe we spoke about it, or at least that is something also that we've been talking with other people in relation to the smart factory, is the fact that the relationship between a PSP and a vendor needs to change, because you get way more involved with each other in order to make sure that this works. And even if you are also thinking about having some of the software you are now using might be on subscription basis. That means that the vendor have an even further interest in keeping you alive and keeping you healthy, right? Do you think, or do you feel already now that kind of business model and that kind of mentality of working closer together is something that you have experienced during your time with your printing company?
Definitely. I think, as I've mentioned previously, now's the time for partnerships. I don't think it's this, this is what I need, thank you so much, here, install, we're happy. I think you need to align yourself with people that you connect to, businesses that you connect to, brands that you connect to, vendors, because once you have a relationship, there's so much more that can be done. And as I've mentioned, support. Everybody needs to support each other. There is no more one-man band. I think it's weaving in all the key players and building something amazing together.
Mm-hmm. But that requires an openness also from a business perspective that I think that many printing companies have. I won't say they have difficulties with it, but I think that sometimes you have like a relationship where the equipment or your solution is the secret source to your success, right? And I was just wondering, because that, I mean, just to give an example, you said, for example, that one of the requirements for you to participate in this session was that we couldn't talk about what you're going to release because it's your secret source for success, right? And I was just wondering, because if you I guess you had to talk about that to your vendors, to talk to them about everything, right? So they understand your business and where you want to go fully.
Absolutely.
So at one point, so at one point you need to be very open to your vendors, and at the same time you have to be a little close when it comes to the industry, because the competitive situation does that lay in your, I mean, if just the competitiveness that you are bringing to the market in the South African market, is that based on the products and services you're bringing to the market, or is it also a matter of what kind of technology you're utilizing?
I think it's all round. I would definitely, I'm confident in saying that it's not tech-based or skill-based or innovation or products. It's the whole solution, where, because it is definitely a competitive space, you need to protect the sources that you have, not necessarily one or the other, but the entire platform or business or brand that you're trying to develop, because you know it's a very small industry and there's lots of demands, and as long as you're in a position of trusting the people that you work with, then I don't think that, you know, insight should be completely open, but I do think that assistance and challenges can be shared.
Mm. So what is the next step for you guys? Because I mean, when you have started coming down this route, it never stops, right? So you see new technologies and new communication tools and marketing opportunities that you have not even, I mean, of course, you thought about, but because I think also you sent me a link a couple of months ago about also a kind of marketing platform where you actually see and share also the visuals in order to drive traffic. So, I mean, one thing is that now we are building the technology and customers in mind, but now it needs to get spread out to the potential buyers, right? So what is the next thing for you guys?
Well, basically, for me, it's focusing on marketing automation solutions, cross-media marketing, and using print with digital solutions to create a streamlined 360 approach. Instead of generic printed pieces, we're not forgetting the tangible element of print, and kind of taking print and digital and marrying them together so that there's no separation. I think that's that's where we headed. Not, solely digitizing, but realizing that there's a human element with print. Completely streamlined brand communication.
Final question. Once again, I thank you for your openness and for talking to me in this session. I think it's been wonderful. Just a few things for the attendees. If you have any questions, you can use the chat so we can ask Kaylene questions. If there's anything you want to know, I'm sure she would like and love to answer the questions. One thing that I am always curious about when I talk to people from countries where I have never been, like South Africa, what is the market situation there? Are you like a first mover in this segment, or how do you see the competitiveness in what you're doing?
I definitely think we're on the forefront. I think, the brand and business I work with, the people that I work with have always been one step ahead. So I would like to think that we fit in a niche market. We're not just printers. I think throughout South Africa, there's printers that focus on different applications, and one printer will specialize in packaging. Everyone's got their own application that they're driving. And I think with us, I think we drive innovation. So instead of I don't feel that I work for a printer. I feel like I work for an innovations company, because we don't limit what we can offer. We will develop, and this is exactly why we created the link, to show people, because if someone asks, what do you do? We develop web to print solutions, cross-media marketing, digitizing communication, marketing automation, lead generation campaigns, digital solutions. There is so much. So I definitely think I work for an innovations company, and I don't like to think of it as a competing space. I'd like to think of it as we play in a completely new space.
So that is, of course, the opportunity in the market. I got one comment a few moments ago from a lady that you know extremely well. Her name is Kaylene Lloyd. Have you heard about her before?
I have. My mentor.
Is your mom just following you everywhere, or?
Everyone in the industry will say I'm mini Jean, mini me.
Okay, but she has actually a good comment, and she usually has. Here's one, for example, when we spoke about the sizes of companies capable of using the technology that you are using, and as you write, as a print business, are you open to driving campaigns for smaller print companies that don't have the skills? And I think that is actually maybe also some of the things that could be really interesting, because if you become the powerhouse of South Africa when it comes to individual use of data, I mean, for the printing companies that don't have that skill set, they can maybe utilize them through you, or how is that?
Absolutely. There's definitely lots of opportunities there. As I've previously mentioned, collaboration and synergy, where this is where you play, this is where I play. How can we actually get into the space and offer both of our services collectively? Definitely see opportunities there.
Fantastic. So I really enjoyed this conversation. Do you have anything you want to talk about that just before we close the session, or what do you think? Was it fun for you?
Yeah, it was great. I really enjoyed it and appreciate it. I think these portals of education are well needed, especially for our industry, where everyone is trying to do what they can. So I appreciate the opportunity, and it was great.
It was really nice for me too. So I will just say thank you from your side. You can just close the window. I just need to give some messages, because we now at 12. That's a half an hour from now. We have breakout sessions in English and French. So Kaylene, thank you very much for the time, and I will talk to you soon. I know.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. And then to the remaining people here, we now have half an hour with no content right now. I think, hang on a second here. I just need to look at, no, it's actually only 15 minutes, so that's great. We have, as I said in the introduction to this one, I think that one of the things that we really find important in in this industry and what English is all about is that we are not all English-speaking people. As you can hear, I'm not native English, neither is Jacques, neither is Yves. And as we also say as part of our mantra, because it's in English doesn't mean that it's better than any other language. So we decided very early when we started planning these sessions to have breakout sessions in local languages. I must admit that I have not been as good as Jacques and Yves again. So my breakout session in 15 minutes will be with Henrik, my business partner, in English, where we're going to talk a little bit about the implications of everything that relates to these kind of things. I am a little bit, because I have many screens open here right now. So hang on a second. I just want to tell you what we have in the, hang on a second here, because we have also great content in French in a second here. So if we I just tried to, I should have opened it before, but it's like, managing both the technology and everything else is just sometimes a little of a hurdle here. So here it is. 11:45, I will send you the link in a second. We have the French breakout session is an interview with a guy, Hubert Perduran from Le Robot Gutenberg 1. And as far as I remember from the presentations I have seen, it's really interesting because it's about how to use, I think it's kind of how to have on-demand production of books, but on sites in different kind of kiosks. But I think you should just dig into the session if you like it. It's in French, so that is, of course, if not a limitation, then at least something to be aware of. Hang on a second here. So here is the direct link in the chat for everybody who wants to participate in this one. I will also post it on LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter. So why don't you just take a cup of coffee and a short break and then go for that one. And I will also send you the one for the English. So English breakout. So now you can see it in the chat. So if you have any problems, just reach out to me or to Jacques or to Yves. We will be on all channels available right now. So thank you for this time. It was great. I hope to see you in the breakout sessions shortly. It was cool. And again, thank you to Kaylene from South Africa. It's always nice to have people from around the world to get insights from different places. So thank you and enjoy yourself.